If this message found you tonight, it was not an accident. It was sent, not suggested by a machine, not stumbled upon by chance, but placed in front of you at the exact hour your soul needed to hear it. Somewhere inside you, there is a part that is tired. Tired of pushing, tired of forcing, tired of praying the same prayer and feeling like the answer keeps slipping just past your fingertips. And you have started to wonder if the problem is you. If you are not trying hard enough, if you need to grip tighter, chase faster, want it more. But here is the truth almost no one will tell you. What belongs to you is already moving toward you, and the anxious striving you have been calling faith is the one thing standing in its path. There is a quiet force that moves behind every good thing that has ever reached your hands, and every good thing still on its way. It does not shout, it does not strain. It works underneath your noise, beneath your fear, beneath your endless effort to control what was never yours to control. I call it the favor frequency, the invisible inner state from which a calm soul receives what a frantic soul keeps repelling. And once you understand it, nothing in your life will look the same again. So hear this and let it fall all the way down. You do not receive what you chase, you receive what you make room for. The calmer you stay, the more God delivers. But understand the cost of ignoring this. Every time you act from panic, you push your blessing one step further away. Every time you force a door, you break the key in the lock. And most people spend their entire lives running, sweating, straining, quietly heartbroken, never realizing that their own restlessness was the thing holding back the very life they were begging for. So before we go deeper, I want to ask you one question, and I do not want you to answer it too quickly. What is God still waiting for you to set down before His hands are free to give you what He has already prepared? Sit with that, because by the time we are finished, you will know the answer, and you will never see your waiting the same way again. Let me begin where most people refuse to look. Not at the blessing, at the calm that comes before it. The world taught you that calm is weakness, that calm is what happens when a person gives up, lowers their dreams, and stops wanting more. So you learned to avoid it. You treated your anxiety like fuel. You wore your exhaustion like a badge of honor and called it dedication. And then you wondered why the harder you gripped, the more life slipped through your fingers. But calm is not weakness. Calm is the highest form of strength a human being can carry. Calm is power that has stopped needing to prove itself. Calm is the mind that has stopped fighting reality long enough to finally hear God speak. A raging river cannot reflect the sky. Only still water can, and only a still soul can reflect the will of heaven clearly enough to follow it. When you are anxious, you cannot hear guidance. When you are panicked, you cannot recognize opportunity. When you are desperate, you make the wrong decisions quickly and the right ones never. Fear has a voice, and that voice is always loud, always urgent, always certain the sky is about to fall. But the voice of wisdom is quiet. The voice of God almost always is a whisper, and a whisper can only be heard by someone who has lowered the noise inside themselves enough to listen. Anxiety is not a sign that you care more. Anxiety is a sign that you have forgotten who is holding you. And the moment you remember, your whole body changes. Your breathing slows, your shoulders drop, your thoughts clear. And life, which had been waiting at the door this entire time, finally steps in. There is a sentence in the book of Psalms that has survived thousands of years because it carries the weight of pure truth. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." Read it slowly. Notice the order of the words. It does not say strive and know that I am God. It does not say worry and know, it says be still. The stillness comes first, the knowing comes second. You cannot truly know that God is in control while your soul is sprinting in every direction at once. The stillness is not the absence of action. The stillness is the absence of fear. It is the inner decision to stop treating your life as an emergency. It is the moment you remember that the universe was carrying you long before you ever learned how to worry. Napoleon Hill spent his entire life studying the most successful and fulfilled people who ever lived, and he discovered something that surprised even him. The great achievers were not the most frantic, they were the most composed. Hill said that the subconscious mind responds far more readily to thoughts charged with calm faith than to thoughts charged with fear. A mind in chaos cannot plant anything. The soil is moving too fast. But a calm mind is settled soil. and into settled soil, you can finally plant a seed that will actually grow. Think of your inner world as ground. Every thought you think is a seed. Every emotion you feel is the weather. When your inner weather is a constant storm of anxiety, even your best seeds get washed away before they ever take root. You pray a powerful prayer, and then 10 minutes later, your fear digs it back up to check if it is growing yet. Nothing can grow in ground that is constantly being torn open by worried hands. But the person who has learned to be still plants the seed, covers it, trusts it, and walks away in peace. And that seed, hidden in the quiet, does what seeds do. It grows. This is why two people can pray the very same prayer and live two completely different lives. One prays from desperation, and desperation keeps digging. The other prays from stillness, and stillness lets the seed sleep until it is ready to rise. The difference was never the words. The difference was the frequency underneath the words. So let this settle in you. Your calm is not a delay on the way to your blessing. Your calm is the very condition your blessing has been waiting for. The peace you keep postponing until your situation improves is the exact peace that will improve your situation. You have had the order backward your whole life. Calm first, then everything else follows. There is a moment in the life of Jesus that the world has never stopped retelling, because everyone in some season finds themselves inside that exact scene. Jesus and his disciples were crossing the sea in a small boat when a violent storm rose up without warning. The wind screamed. The waves climbed higher than the boat. The disciples, many of them experienced fishermen, were certain they were about to die. And in the middle of all that terror, they turned and found Jesus asleep in the storm. The chaos that was destroying the courage of every other man on that boat did not disturb his rest at all. And when they finally shook him awake, crying out that they were perishing, he stood and he spoke 3 words to the storm. Peace, be still. And the wind stopped and the sea went flat, and there was a great calm. Now hear what most people miss. The calm did not begin when Jesus spoke to the storm. The calm began inside Jesus long before the storm ever started. He did not become calm because the sea went quiet. The sea went quiet because he was already calm. He carried the stillness into the storm. He did not wait for the storm to hand it to him. And that is the entire lesson written in a single scene. You will never argue the storm into stillness. You carry the stillness in, and the storm bends to the frequency you bring. Look honestly at how you have been living. You have been waiting for the wind to stop before you allow yourself to rest. You have been waiting for the bills to be paid before you allow yourself to breathe. You have been waiting for the diagnosis, the phone call, the open door, before you finally permit your soul to be at peace. But that is backward. The peace is not the prize at the end of the storm. The peace is the authority you bring into the middle of it. Napoleon Hill said that no person can think clearly while their mind is dominated by fear, and that the mastery of fear is the first true requirement of all lasting achievement. He called emotional control one of the great secrets of every successful life he studied. Not the absence of emotion, the mastery of it. The person ruled by their feelings is at the mercy of every wave, but the person who has learned to govern their inner state can stand in the same storm and remain unmoved, and from that unmoved place finally think, decide, and act with wisdom. Faith calls it trust in God. The study of the mind calls it emotional self-command. They are the same calm seen from 2 windows, and both are telling you the same thing. The storm is not your real problem. Your relationship with the storm is the problem, and that relationship can change tonight. So consider your own life right now, honestly. Which storm has been waking you at night? Which wind have you been letting set the temperature of your soul? You have permitted that situation to walk straight into your inner world and rearrange your peace as if it owned the place. But it does not own the place, you do. And the moment you decide to carry the stillness rather than wait for it, the storm loses its grip on you, even if the wind has not yet died down. There is another story in the scriptures that explains, more clearly than any other, why your calm matters so much. It is the story of the prophet Elijah. He was exhausted. He had run for his life, collapsed under a tree, and asked God to let him die, certain everything had fallen apart. And God told this broken, anxious man to go and stand on the mountain, because God was about to pass by. A great and powerful wind came, strong enough to tear the mountains apart. But the scripture says the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind came an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And then, after all the noise, after all the violence, there came a sound. The old words call it a still small voice, a gentle whisper. And there in the whisper was God. Do you understand what that is telling you? God was not in the loud things. God was in the quiet thing. And here is the heartbreak of how most people live. They are so surrounded by their own internal wind, their own earthquakes of worry, their own fires of fear, that even when God whispers, they cannot hear a thing. The guidance is being given. The answer is being whispered. But it is whispered, and a whisper cannot compete with a storm. So the anxious soul stands in the noise, crying out that God is silent, when God is not silent at all. God is simply quiet, and quiet can only be heard by the quiet. This is why your stillness is not optional. Your stillness is the only condition under which you can actually hear the one who is trying to lead you. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you turn down the volume of the wind so the whisper can finally reach you. The direction for your life is not missing. Your ability to hear it has been buried under noise you yourself can choose to quiet. God is whispering the next step to you right now. The only question is whether you are still enough to receive it. So let me ask you something, and let it land. How many times has God whispered to you, and you missed it because you were too loud inside to hear? How many gentle nudges, how many soft impressions to call that person, to wait one more day, to let that thing go, did you override, because they did not come with the volume and the drama your anxious mind was waiting for? You have been listening for thunder, but heaven has been speaking in whispers. And somewhere in your recent days, God has already whispered something to you. A name came to mind. A quiet knowing rose up, and you talked yourself out of it because it was too quiet to trust. That whisper is still valid. It did not expire. The moment you grow calm enough to hear it again, it will return, because the gentle voice does not give up on the souls it loves. And if a particular whisper just came back to your mind as I said that, then go down to the comments and write the single word, heard. Just that one word, not for me, not for the algorithm, for your own soul, so that your own spirit knows that from tonight you are choosing to listen. Now there is a second wound the world has given you, and you must be healed of it. The world has trained you to fight against time. It taught you that if your blessing has not arrived yet, then something has gone wrong. And the answer is to push harder and faster. The world has made you allergic to waiting, and that allergy is quietly destroying your calm, because almost everything good in life arrives through a season of waiting. A soul at war with waiting is a soul at war with its own life. But the scriptures speak of time differently. The book of Ecclesiastes says there is a time for everything and a season for every purpose under heaven. A time to plant and a time to harvest. Planting and harvesting are not the same time. There is a gap between them, and that gap is not a punishment. That gap is the season in which the seed does its hidden, sacred work underground. The farmer who screams at the soil because the harvest is not instant is not a wise farmer. He is an anxious one. And the anxious farmer, by digging up the seed to check on it, guarantees that nothing will ever grow at all. You have been treating the waiting seasons of your life as proof that you were forgotten. But the waiting season is not your enemy. The waiting season is the soil. It is where the roots go deep. It is where the unseen preparation happens, both in your circumstances and inside your own character, so that when the blessing finally arrives, you are someone who can actually hold it. Many people never receive what they ask for, not because God refused, but because they were not yet built to carry it. And a loving God will not hand a child a weight that would crush them. The weight is not the withholding. The weight is the construction. And the calmer you remain inside the weight, the cleaner that construction goes. Napoleon Hill discovered this in every successful life he studied. He said that patience, persistence, and a calm, unwavering faith form a combination nothing can defeat. He noticed that the people who failed almost always failed at the exact moment of waiting. They were close, sometimes only one step from the breakthrough, but the silence of the waiting season convinced them that nothing was happening. So they panicked, abandoned the seed, and walked away from a harvest that was nearly ready to break the surface. The calm soul understands that silence is not absence, that delay is not denial, and that the ground is doing its work even when the eyes can see nothing at all. There is a psalm that says, "The Lord makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters and restores my soul." Notice, he makes me lie down. The shepherd sometimes has to make a restless sheep lie down because the sheep, left to itself, would worry and exhaust itself and never stop. And still waters, not rushing waters, because a sheep is afraid of turbulent water and will not drink from it. That is what God is doing in the still seasons of your life. He is not ignoring you. He is leading you gently away from the rushing water that would frighten you, toward the still water where your soul can finally be restored. The stillness you have been resisting is the very pasture where your soul gets fed. So the question from the beginning is still waiting. What is God still waiting for you to put down? And now part of the answer is becoming clear. He is waiting for you to put down your war with time. He is waiting for you to stop treating the waiting as proof of failure and start trusting it as proof of preparation. The moment you make peace with the season you are in, you stop leaking energy into resistance, and all of that recovered energy becomes available for the calm, magnetic, trusting state that draws your good toward you. Because there is a law underneath everything you have been living, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. You do not attract what you ask for with your lips. You attract what you broadcast with your state. And desperation, no matter how spiritual it dresses itself up to be, broadcasts only one message: I do not have enough. I am not safe. I cannot trust what is coming. And life, faithful and exact, simply confirms the signal it receives. This is why the harder you chase, the more it runs. When you grip something with anxious hands, your very grip announces that you believe it is scarce, that you believe it is leaving. And that announcement repels the very thing you are reaching for. A clenched fist cannot receive a gift. The same hand that grasps in fear cannot open in faith. You must choose which one you will be. The person desperate for love repels love, because desperation is heavy, and heaviness suffocates what it touches. The person frantic for money repels money, because provision flows toward calm confidence and away from panic. It is not luck. It is not unfairness. It is law. Calm is magnetic. Desperation is repellent. And you have been living on the wrong side of that law for far too long. Napoleon Hill said that thoughts are things, and that every thought a person holds with deep feeling begins in time to draw its physical equivalent toward them. Your dominant emotional state is not private. It radiates out of you constantly, into every room, every conversation, every decision, and into the unseen field where your future is being assembled. You are always broadcasting. The only question is what. So understand exactly what desperation costs you. Desperation does not just feel bad. Desperation actively builds the future you are afraid of. When you obsess over the bill you cannot pay, you are not solving the bill. You are deepening the groove of lack in your subconscious mind, and a deepened groove only attracts more of itself. When you replay the rejection, the betrayal, the failure, you are not protecting yourself. You are rehearsing it. And what you rehearse, you reinforce. And what you reinforce, you eventually relive. Every anxious soul is, without knowing it, a powerful builder, constructing the exact prison they are begging God to free them from. This is the silent sabotage that destroys more lives than any outside enemy ever could. People do not usually fail because the door was locked. They fail because they pounded on it so frantically that they never heard it click open. The opportunity came dressed as a small, unremarkable nudge, a gentle thought, a calm idea, and they ignored it because they were waiting for a thunderclap. And God rarely sends thunderclaps to people who cannot hear whispers. So feel the seriousness of this. If you do not learn to master your inner state, you will spend the rest of your life as your own greatest obstacle. You will pray for doors and then break the keys. You will beg for the harvest while your anxious hands keep digging up every seed before it can root. That is the warning. And it is also the invitation. Because everything you can sabotage, you can also save the moment you change the frequency you are living from. Now let us be honest about what is happening inside your body. when you live this way, because this is not only spiritual. What science has uncovered confirms what the scriptures said long ago. When you live in fear, your body floods with the chemistry of survival. Your heart races, your breathing turns shallow, blood moves away from the deep thinking part of your brain to prepare you to fight or to flee. In that state, you are equipped to escape a predator, but you are not equipped to build a life. The part of your brain responsible for vision, for patience, for wise long-term decisions goes quiet. This is why when you are anxious, you genuinely cannot see solutions that would be obvious to a calm person. It is not a character flaw, it is biology. Fear narrows your perception down to a tunnel, and a tunnel only shows you the threat. It hides every door, every option, every gift standing just outside the narrow beam of your panic. But when you grow still, everything reverses. There is a filter in your brainstem called the reticular activating system. It decides what you notice and what you ignore. When you are panicked, it scans only for danger. When you are calm and you hold a clear picture of what you are believing for, that same filter begins to scan for the people, the openings, and the answers that match it. Nothing on the outside changed. Your biology changed, and your biology changed your perception. And your perception is the only world you have ever actually lived in. This is the hidden mechanism behind the verse, "Be still and know." When you slow your breath, you widen your vision. When you quiet your nervous system, you give the still, small voice of guidance a frequency clear enough to be heard. The calmer you become, the more of reality you are actually able to perceive, and you cannot receive what you cannot perceive. The prophet Isaiah recorded a sentence the anxious world has been ignoring for thousands of years. He wrote that in returning and rest you shall be saved, and in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. And then he added the heartbreaking line, "The people were not willing." God offered them strength through quietness, and they refused it, because quietness felt like doing nothing, and doing nothing felt like dying. Hear what Isaiah is telling you. Your strength is not in your striving. Your strength is in your quietness and your confidence. Quietness is the calm. Confidence is the trust. And there is a companion verse that completes the picture, the promise that God will keep in perfect peace the one whose mind is stayed on him. A mind that is stayed has stopped racing, stopped leaping from fear to fear. And the promise attached to it is not ordinary peace. It is the peace the Apostle Paul later called the peace that surpasses all understanding. A peace so deep it cannot be explained by your circumstances, because it was never coming from your circumstances in the first place. Napoleon Hill said that faith is a state of mind which can be developed through repeated affirmation, and that this faith is the only known antidote for failure. But he did not mean an anxious, pleading faith that prays one prayer and panics the rest of the day. He meant a calm, settled, expectant faith, so thoroughly convinced of the good outcome that the soul can finally rest. That is quietness and confidence working as one. And here is where I need you to do something, because this truth is not meant to stay inside the screen. It is meant to take root in your life. If something in these words is reaching the deeper part of you, if you can feel your own breathing slowing down right now, then pause and speak directly into the comments. Write this exact sentence so your own eyes can witness your own decision. Write, "Today I choose stillness over striving." Do not scroll past that. Stop and write it, because the moment you put it into words that exist outside of you, you make it real. You send a signal to your own subconscious that a new chapter has begun. And while you are there, if this message is doing something real inside you, take 1 second to like this video. Not as an empty gesture, but as a declaration that from now on, you are choosing to feed your mind with truth instead of noise. Now we go to the heart of everything. The favor frequency I named at the very beginning. It is not a metaphor, and it is not a mood. It is the invisible operating state of your entire life. It is the steady inner state from which you meet your whole life. It is not what you say you believe. It is the actual emotional temperature you are running at underneath all of that, hour after hour, day after day. And here is the truth almost no one is taught. Life does not respond to your words. Life responds to your frequency. You can speak prayers of abundance all day long, but if the frequency underneath those prayers is fear, then fear is the order you are placing, and fear is what will be delivered. This is why two people can speak the very same affirmation and get two completely opposite results. One says it from the favor frequency, anchored in calm trust, and it takes root. The other says it from panic, and it dies on contact, because panic uproots everything it touches. The favor frequency is the frequency of the one who already knows. It is the inner posture of a person who has decided, settled it deep in their bones, that what is meant for them cannot miss them, that what God has assigned to them cannot be stolen, that their good is not in danger and never was. From that place you stop chasing, because the one who knows does not chase. You stop forcing, because the one who knows does not force. You move through your days with an open hand instead of a clenched fist, and the open hand is finally able to receive. Understand this clearly. The favor frequency is not laziness, and it is not pretending. You will still work. You will still plan. You will still take real decisive action. But the action will no longer be powered by fear. It will be powered by trust. There is a kind of work that flows out of panic, and it is exhausting, and it repels, and it rarely arrives anywhere good. And there is a kind of work that flows out of calm certainty, and it is light, and it is magnetic, and it draws the right people, the right ideas, and the right open doors toward you almost effortlessly. Same effort on the outside, completely different frequency on the inside, completely different harvest. Jesus did not chase. He moved through the world from a place of total inner stillness, never in a hurry, never frantic, never desperate, even when the crowds pressed in, even when the cross itself drew near. And because of it, everything he needed found him. He was the living demonstration of a soul so anchored in the Father that life organized itself around his peace. And this same frequency is available to you. It is not reserved for prophets and saints. It is the natural inheritance of every person who decides to claim it. The favor frequency is not something you manufacture out of nothing. It is something you uncover. It is already underneath the noise. It is your original state, the calm you were born with before the world taught you to be afraid. And every practice I am about to give you is simply a way of removing the noise, so that the calm that was always there can rise back to the surface and become the place you live from. So let us move from understanding into practice, because truth that is only understood will fade by tomorrow, but truth that is practiced becomes who you are. The first practice is the practice of returning to stillness on purpose, and you can begin it right now. You do not need a special room. You only need a decision. Begin with your breath, because your breath is the one door into your nervous system you can open with your own hand. Right now, breathe in slowly through your nose, gently, to a count of 4. Hold it softly for a count of 4, and release it slowly, even more slowly than you took it in, to a count of 6. Do it again. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release long and slow for 6. With every exhale, you are sending a direct message to your own body. The message is, I am safe. The storm is not in charge. God is holding me and I can rest. Do this a few times and feel your shoulders begin to lower, your jaw soften, the frantic edge in your chest begin to dissolve. This is you returning to your original frequency. Now, with your body settled, I want you to build something with your imagination, because the imagination is not a toy. Napoleon Hill called the imagination the workshop of the mind, the place where every achievement is first created before it is ever made visible in the world. So, let us build. Picture yourself 1 year from tonight. See the version of you who has lived this entire year on the favor frequency. Watch how that version of you wakes in the morning. There is no jolt of dread, no immediate reaching for the phone to check what went wrong overnight. There is a slow, peaceful waking, a moment of gratitude before the feet even touch the floor. See the way that version of you walks. The shoulders are down. The face is soft. There is an unhurried steadiness, the walk of a person who knows that what is theirs is already on its way. See how that version of you handles a problem. The problem arrives, and instead of panic, there is a pause, a breath, a calm and clear response. See the open doors and the answered prayers that flowed toward that version of you, not because they fought harder, but because they finally became the frequency those blessings were always looking for. Sit inside that picture for a moment. Do not just look at it, feel it. Because that feeling right now is not fantasy. That feeling is a seed, and every time you return to it, you water it. The version of you that you can see and feel with this kind of calm clarity is not a stranger. It is a memory of a future that your trust is already building. Now let us give your mind its new instructions, because the calm state must be paired with the right words, or the old fearful words will rush back in to fill the silence. Hill taught the principle of auto-suggestion, the deliberate, repeated feeding of chosen thoughts into the subconscious mind until that mind accepts them as fact and begins to organize your whole life around them. The subconscious does not argue. It accepts what you give it most often, with the most feeling, and goes to work making your outer life match it. So choose on purpose what you will give it. Speak each of these slowly, on an exhale, from the calm place you have entered. I am calm, and because I am calm, I can clearly see the way. I do not chase what is mine, because what is mine is already moving toward me. I release my grip, and in releasing, I finally receive. I trust the timing of my life, because nothing assigned to me by God can ever arrive late. The calmer I become, the more God delivers, and I am becoming calmer every single day. Speak those words, but more than speaking them, agree with them. There is a vast difference between saying an affirmation and agreeing with it. Saying it is the lips. Agreeing with it is the soul nodding yes. When you truly agree, you stop adding a silent, but to the end of it. And that is the moment it begins to take root in the deep soil of your subconscious and grow into the structure of your life. Make these words a daily practice, not an occasional one. The mind is not changed by intensity. It is changed by repetition. This is real, and science gives it a name: neuroplasticity. Your brain physically rewires itself along the paths you use most. One powerful day will not rebuild a lifetime of anxious thinking, but the same calm truths repeated quietly every morning and every night, over weeks and months, carve a new groove so deep that calm becomes your default, and fear becomes the rare visitor. You are not trying to feel good for a moment. You are reprogramming the operating system you will run on for the rest of your life, and that brings us to the most powerful window of the entire day, the one almost everyone wastes: the minutes just before you fall asleep. Most people hand them over to the enemy of their own peace. They lie down and scroll through other people's lives. They replay the argument from earlier. They rehearse tomorrow's worst case. They feed their subconscious a final meal of fear. And then they wonder why they wake up tired, heavy, and already anxious before the day has begun. Understand what is happening as you fall asleep. Your brain slows into what scientists call alpha and then theta waves, the gentle states between waking and sleep. In those states, the conscious mind, the part that argues and doubts, steps aside, and the door to the subconscious swings wide open. Whatever you are thinking and feeling in that doorway gets carried inside. And during the night, your sleeping brain does its work of memory consolidation, weaving the impressions of the day into who you are becoming. So you must guard that doorway like the treasure it is. Build yourself a night ritual and protect it as something holy. As you lie down tonight, do not reach for the phone. Reach for the breath. Breathe in slowly for 4. Hold gently for 4. Release for 6. And let your body sink down into the bed as if it is being held, because it is. You are held by the same God who holds the oceans in place and tells the stars where to stand. You can let go now. You are not the one keeping the world spinning. Then, in that quiet, do not review the failures of the day. Instead, find 3 things to be grateful for and feel the gratitude. Gratitude is the fastest road back to the favor frequency, because it is impossible to be grateful and panicked in the same breath. Gratitude tells your subconscious, I am a person to whom good things come. And a subconscious that believes that will spend the night looking for more good to bring you. Then speak your calm truths into the doorway softly, like a lullaby to your own soul. Tonight all is well. What is mine is on its way to me. I release what I cannot control into hands far stronger than my own. The calmer I stay, the more God delivers. And then, finally, see that calm version of you living the life that stillness built. Hold that image gently as the last thing in your mind, and let yourself drift into sleep, still holding it. Because your subconscious takes whatever you handed it at the doorway and works on it for hours. If you handed it fear, it spends the night reinforcing fear. But if you handed it calm gratitude and a clear, peaceful vision, it spends the entire night building toward that vision. It even alerts your waking mind to opportunities you would have missed, so that you wake not only more rested, but more aligned, more magnetic, more ready. Hill said the subconscious works continuously, day and night, and that the person who learns to direct it deliberately gains access to a power the anxious and undirected will never know. You sleep for a third of your life. Imagine what changes when that third is finally working for you instead of against you. Do this every night, not perfectly, just faithfully. Some nights you will forget. The moment you notice, simply return, and slowly, without you even noticing the day it happened. Calm stops being something you do and becomes something you are. I want to pause here and speak directly to the one who feels like they have been waiting too long. The one who has been in the silence, the striving, the unanswered prayer for what feels like years. Tempted to believe the promise was never real, that everyone else gets their blessing while you keep getting your burden. Hear me. Your delay is not your denial. The fact that it has not happened yet does not mean it will not happen. Some of the greatest blessings in all of Scripture came after the longest waits. Abraham waited decades for the son he was promised. Joseph waited years in slavery and in prison before he rose to save a nation. David was anointed king as a boy and then sent back to the sheep for years before he ever sat on a throne. The people who waited the longest often received the most because the size of the preparation matched the size of the destiny. Your long wait may be the very evidence that what God is preparing for you is larger than you have dared to imagine. He is not building a shed, he is building a mansion, and mansions take longer, so do not give up. Not now, not when you have come this far. The dawn does not arrive because the night was short. The dawn arrives because the night, however long, finally ends, and your night is ending. If something in you is refusing to quit right now, daring to hope again, then mark this moment. Comment the word still. Say it to yourself. Say it to God. Let it mean I am still here and I am still believing and I am choosing to be still and know. And if this message has touched you, share it with one person you know is in a hard season. You may be the very hand God uses to keep them holding on for one more day. Now let me bring you back to the question I gave you at the very beginning, the one I told you not to answer yet. I asked, what is God still waiting for you to set down before his hands are free to give you what he has already prepared? You have carried that question through this entire message, and now you are ready for the answer. What God has been waiting for you to put down is the illusion of control. It is the heavy, exhausting belief that if you do not personally worry about it, grip it, force it, and manage every single detail of it, then it will all fall apart. That belief feels like responsibility, but it is fear wearing the costume of responsibility, and it has filled both of your hands. Your hands have been so full of trying to control everything that there has been no room left to receive anything. God has been standing in front of you this whole time, holding what is meant for you, waiting patiently for you to set down the weight you were never assigned to carry. There is a verse in the book of Exodus that closes this entire circle. The people of Israel were trapped, the sea in front of them and the army behind them. And in that impossible moment, Moses said something almost no anxious heart can accept. He said, "The Lord will fight for you, and you need only to be still." The instruction in the worst moment of their lives was not run faster, not fight harder. It was be still. Their stillness was not weakness. Their stillness was the very thing that made room for God to move. And the sea opened, not because they forced it, but because they finally stopped trying to. This is the surrender the world has lied to you about. The world told you surrender means giving up, losing, going limp. But true surrender is handing the weight to the only one strong enough to carry it, and then walking forward with empty, open, peaceful hands, ready at last to receive. Surrender does not mean you stop moving. It means you stop carrying. You still take the steps. You simply stop dragging the entire mountain on your back while you take them. And when you finally do that, you discover the promise hidden in the book of Romans, that all things work together for good for those who love God. All things. Not most things, not the easy things, all things, including the delay, including the closed door, including the loss that broke your heart, including the season that made no sense at all. The calm soul can believe that. The anxious soul cannot. Anxiety has to understand everything before it can rest. But faith rests first and lets the understanding come later, or sometimes not at all, and is at peace either way. So feel the weight begin to lift off your shoulders right now. You can put it down. You were never meant to carry the outcome. You were only ever meant to carry the next calm step. The future is not yours to force. The future is yours to trust. And the moment you truly believe that, your hands open. And life, which has been waiting at the door this entire time, finally has somewhere to set the blessing down. We are near the end now, so let me gather the whole truth into your hands. You came here believing you had to chase, push, grip, and strive to pull your good toward you. And the truth has turned out to be the exact opposite. The calmer you stay, the more God delivers. When you calm down, heaven is finally able to bring you what was always meant for you. Your peace was never the reward at the end of the road. Your peace was the road. Calm is not weakness. Calm is power that has stopped needing to prove itself. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is making room for God to do everything. You do not receive what you chase. You receive what you make room for. You do not receive with a clenched fist of fear. You receive with the open hand of trust. The desperate repel what the peaceful attract. And the still small voice that has been trying to guide you your whole life can only be heard by a soul that has grown quiet enough to listen. So this is your invitation, and it is the only one that matters. Stop waiting for the storm to end before you allow yourself peace. Carry the peace into the storm and watch the storm begin to answer to you. Stop digging up your seeds to check on them. Plant them in calm faith, cover them, trust the soil, and let them grow in the quiet. Stop carrying the weight of an outcome you were never assigned. Hand it back to the God who has been holding you all along, and walk forward with open, peaceful, expectant hands. The life that is meant for you is not lost. It is not late. It is not in danger. It has simply been waiting patiently for you to become calm enough to receive it. And now, before you go, I am asking you to do one last thing, and to do it on purpose, because this is how the truth gets sealed inside you. If this message found you tonight, understand that it was sent, not suggested. Subscribe to this channel not for an algorithm, but so that when your season shifts, the next word arrives right on time, on the loud days, on the heavy days, on the days the storm tries to convince you it is in charge. This is a place built to keep your mind anchored in truth and to keep returning you again and again to the calm that God speaks from. If this reached the place in you that needed reaching, like it, so that it can find its way to another anxious heart, silently begging for exactly this peace tonight. And go down to the comments and write this single sentence, so the one who hears you and your own subconscious mind can witness your decision. Write, I am calm, and I trust that what is meant for me is already on its way. Write it as a seed. The comment section is your soil. And the anchor word for tonight, the one I want you to carry like a covering over your spirit, is the word receive. Comment it, mean it, and become it. Now close your eyes for just a moment and take one final slow breath with me. Breathe in gently and release it long and slow, and let everything you do not need to carry leave your body with that breath. You are held, you are guided, you are not behind, and you are not forgotten. What is yours is already on its way to you, and it is moving at the speed of your peace. So become calm and stay calm, and watch what a calm soul can finally receive. The calmer you stay, the more God delivers. It has always been true, and starting tonight, it becomes true for you.